Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, whether you're watching or listening on the live or the replay. This is USA Global TV and Radio, and our show today is presenting Pet Psychic Aminah. I'm Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK. I'm the president, founder, and chief listening officer here at our network. We'd love to have you join us for as many shows as possible. Please go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV and Radio, and subscribe. All of our shows are found in their own playlist. This will be in the playlist presenting Pet Psychic Aminah. All right, so without further ado, I present Pet Psychic Aminah. Welcome to the show.
Every time you say that, I want to get a crown and share it amongst you.
Get it.
Well, the way you deliver it is so royal. There's just no other word for it. I can't imagine you literally sound unique each time, even though if everybody's watching, you have so many really wonderful shows. And let me thank you first for having me add. It was Roland. Did I get his name correct?
Roland Friedel.
Wow, what a wonderful platform! What a wonderful man. We had an amazing time, and if anybody's on any of my social media, you've seen the link. So please keep watching. There's so much more to come.
Yes, so Aminah is referring to the show called The Mallorca Connection, which is on Tuesdays and is co-hosted by Roland Friedel, who is in his motorhome traveling through Europe. So we're actually going to elaborate on the discussion from that day. And your title is A Fed Bear is a Dead Bear. And I'd like to have us elaborate a little in that what happens when you feed wild animals. So people think they're doing a favor and, oh, little squirrel's so cute and the bird's cute, everybody's cute. And we're basically breaking up that natural food gathering, food acquisition process that animals in the wild have. But before we go down that path, why don't you share a little bit about your background and why you're so passionate about animals and the environment?
I'm very, very, very fortunate. I come by it naturally. I am the fifth child of a very big family. And so I'm the baby. And my mom was just the queen of seeing what our children were interested in and or favored, but she gave us lots of opportunities to figure that out. We joined clubs. We were in 4-H. We were presidents of the club. We were organizers. Of course, she was a program organizer. And they didn't have program managers in those days titles. So if in our town where we grew up was a very small town, maybe 10,000 people. And that was a lot in the desert in California. So my mom did everything that needed to be done and then handed it off to whoever wanted to do it next. But she got it started. First, I would say it was because of her kids and wanting those. There weren't any parks in the city of where we lived. So my mom went out and built parks. She hired people and got the city to fund it all. She's really good at funding. I wish she was around now, right? So I learned and did everything with all the opportunities my parents gave me. My father was a teacher, so we traveled. My parents loved to travel. I've seen the United States 5 times in its entirety. I've seen Alaska and Hawaii. So those are the ones that you got to get off land and to go see. And I'm very fortunate because what I hope it does is it opened my mind. It opened my heart. My parents did foreign exchange families. So my parents would have a mom and a dad, or a mom and a sibling or a child, or a couple times we had an aunt and her niece, and they'd come and stay with us. So if they had children, then depending on their age, they would hang out with us kids. So we got to learn so much about other cultures. But what was really great is then my parents would go and visit them. And my mom was just perfect at keeping in touch with everybody. She wrote letters. And I always asked her, why do you get so much mail? Because I write letters. And I learned all of that at her heel, at her side. She was very generous with giving out that information to anybody who wanted it and making sure the world was greener. I know I get this from having lived around it. I'm not going to say she went out of her way and said, now you do what I do. And no, none of that happened. It was lived by example. And I hope I've done the same for my own children, is practice what you preach. Show people what you mean. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about that we need to coexist. Don't talk about that, oh, it's really a shame that the whole planet's burning and going to hell. I wonder what I could do. Find out. This is what I'm helping with. This is what Dr. JACALYN has a million wonderful programs, and so many are teaching free to say how you can do better, how you can sing better, how you can do a video better, just keep looking. There's a plethora of information out there that is free for you to learn. And this is just one of those of me saying, please don't kill the bees. If you like to eat anything, don't kill the honeybees. If you're afraid of them, walk away. That is your ability. But to kill something just because you're afraid of it ends a life that had nothing to do with what they did or wanted to do. If a dog bites you, you've done something to frighten them, to scare them, or you have come up and look like a threat. So you need to find out what that is and know how to keep yourself safe. That's what I'm here to help you with, is to understand what to do, how to do it. And I'm all about the free and inexpensive. I'm not asking you to buy a bunch of products or anything. Just change your mindset. That's what I'm asking. Be open to a different way of looking at the world so that we all can coexist.
Fabulous. Thank you for sharing that, changing our mindset. So when it comes to feeding wildlife, we may think we're doing a fabulous thing. And oh, honey, look, let's get a picture of me doing X, Y, and Z. And what is really the truth when it comes to that? I mean, we have good intentions, don't we?
We think we do, but we don't have the knowledge to understand that. I mean, when you said exactly what you said, honey, there, let's go feed that animal. They look hungry. And when you do that to a carnivore like a bear or a lion, we don't live in the country of lions in the United States per se, but who knows? You think, oh, they look hungry. They look this, or let's take it down to a pet. You see a stray dog, or what you think is a stray dog, or a stray cat, and you set food out. There is a way to do it and a way not to do it. So there are feeding stations for feral cats, and it's a huge controversy in some cities and not in others. Again, it depends on who's living there. But we have all programs all over the US for what's called catch and release. So we know that there's not enough homes for all the animals we're breeding. So every time I hear somebody say, oh yeah, we decided to have puppies, they're so great, and I just know everybody's going to want a puppy, and I'm thinking, you're not wrong, but you're wrong, because there's already too many puppies, there's too many bunnies, there's too many cats. If we could get all of the shelters empty, everybody's backyard out of the 10 dogs that they are taking care of because nobody else will, then tell me, oh, maybe we need a couple others. Yes, there's designer dogs. There's ones for C9. There's one for detection for police. That they're specialists, and that's wonderful. And there's police dogs to do what they do, and military dogs to do what they do. But is that what yours is? Or is that what you need to do? Why are you breeding? Answer that question in your own heart and in your own mind. If it's money, then please, please, please think of a different way to bring in money. Because I have had family members who bred their animals every year just to make money. And it was heartbreaking. But how was I going to go to an older relative and say, yeah, don't do that? They're like, are you kidding? So I'm doing it with education. When we can't feed everything on the planet, we can't even feed people. We can't even feed all the people we're having, because we're still, even though the birth rates have continued to stay at 1 and 2 children on the average of people not having 5 or 6, like my family did. There were 5 of us, 5 children. My dad was one of 7. And that was how you got through. Everybody worked. That was the Depression when my dad was growing up. So they all worked. There was a need for 7 children to keep the family going. That's not the case. We don't have a lot of people living on rural agricultural communities. That's not really a thing as much anymore. That the same with animals. We were using animals for work. We're using animals for social. We were using animals that now they're almost strictly pets. I'm not talking about guide dogs, huge job, but those are very special animals. And therapy cats, cat therapy birds, these animals are trained to be there for somebody who has a medical condition, that these animals literally, by seeing them, holding them, touching them, and us pet owners know this, they calm down. The person can take less medication, can have less anxiety, less chance of suicide. There's so many things that animals do. But if we keep overbreeding, we will have nothing to feed them. And we're already looking at a global warming. And how do we get here? Over using the resources. We're not planting enough trees as fast as we are building and tearing them down. Still taking out 100-year-old trees in the sequoias and in forests and saying, oh, we need more paper. Okay, maybe we need to think about a different way to write. We're on the computer right now. So the written word is using a lot less paper if you write this way. And or I have an erase board. I do that for my notes so that I can see them. And then I just erase them, write them again. So there are other ways to do it than creating more waste. And think about that part. What can I do? So if you do drink soda, and once in a while, I have sore throats once in a while, and 7-Up works great. So I have it in the house, but then I recycle the can and I make sure I get it to the recycle center. And that's what I can do. So to coexist with animals, we need to leave them something to eat. So I'm an avid thing, put in flowers for honeybees. They don't want to sting you, they die. But they do want to make more food for you. They don't know that they're doing that, but that's their mission, is to pollinate. And if you like food, you need a honeybee. These are the simple things to start thinking about.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. And I think we want to take it another step further. People like to go to a zoo, and there's an opportunity to feed the animals there, right? Some places and some cages, petting zoo, etc. And so some of these animals have come from the wild and put into domestication, or maybe they were specifically bred so that they could be in zoos and whatnot. So it's a little confusing then, to feed or not to feed. I don't know.
Well, I would say, if you're in doubt, don't. Isn't that true with alcohol, drugs, dating that boy next door? You know, the scary mailman who's never scary, but you know, if you want your mail, don't avoid him completely. Anything, I think we don't listen to our inner self and trust it enough. We wait. Some of us wait to talk to that professional, and then you need to make a decision in there. Some wait to talk to the doctor, some wait, and this is not wrong. But at some point, have you accumulated, like Dr. Jacalyn, you and I have lived a decent amount of years. And I think we can make some decisions on our own, or read the book. Now you can Google it. That's a thing. That's an adjective, verb, noun. It's got it all, because you have at access. And if you don't have a computer at home, which sadly internets and computers are still not everybody's house, we have libraries where you can go there for free. And you have, hopefully the schools all have them, because that's the technology that our kids need to know. So you can research it simply. You don't have to pick up a book. Promise it. Books don't bite. But it's not the generation we're in. And I want to honor that and say, then go research it. My struggle, and I feel for anybody who has the same one, is I don't put in the right search words. So I get frustrated, and that's my learning curve. So I hear you. If you're frustrated searching something and you don't put it in the way the computer or the algorithm for that word is looking for it, or you're trying to spell a word that, I don't know about you, there's a few words out there I have not spelled before. Like, I don't know how, it's like, if we're going to go with what does Mary Poppins say? Fabulous ass something. There's a rhyme she says over and over and over. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Why do I know that? Because I've watched the movie too many times. But could you imagine if any of us tried to look that up? I'm saying, be gentle with yourself. Keep at it. There are tons of resources and a lot of free ones on all the social media platforms, whichever one. If you are not into that, great. Go to a dictionary. Go to the library. They still exist. I know, I drive by one downtown all the time. And find out people who love your topic and make friends with them and say, I really want to know more about that. Or, like, if you're on social media, so I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook. Those are the only two real social medias I do besides Dr. Jacalyn's channel. And I share boatloads of free information because I want you to know. I don't want to keep it a secret. I'll make a living and God will take care of me in that way. But I want you to do better. So how are we going to coexist? We're going to learn together. We're going to learn that we don't feed the wildlife. If you're going to feed birds, plant something that they can use, not necessarily get the seeds. But feeding birds, for that example, is at the distance. They realize you're going out and putting food there. And so there is a little bit, but you're not putting your hand out there and feeding them. With stray animals, what we need to do is, again, more spay and neutering so we don't have animals being dumped because they just don't want to be with the people they are. People don't want them, and our shelters are bursting at the seam. So if you're going to get a new pet, please go to the shelter. Now, some people need specific animals, and they need them for dander, or they're not going to be able to do it because they're allergic. There are caveats to everything. There's no black and white rules. So when you need to know, please reach out to all those of us who are trying to share that information. Dr. Jacalyn, did I get that answer at all, or did I get out on a tangent again on doing me?
It's okay. You had the answer.
What was that question?
You added more value, so that's okay. So now, I'm not talking about feeding wild animals, but this happens a lot. I've heard somebody recently talk about this, that they had to, in air quotes, remove a very old tree from their property. Oh. They were really sick over it. What are your thoughts about this? What if you have a tree on your property and it's starting to droop, or you've clipped it back, but the neighbors are complaining? I don't know. Is there ever an appropriate time to take out an old tree?
I would love to say no, but that would be ridiculous because there is never always, forever, this is the only way to do it. Well, that's ridiculous because things change every day. Did we have any idea 10 years ago, you and I, we were plenty conscious, we were plenty old enough to know what was going on. Had you any idea that you would have this magnificent channel 15, 20 years, whatever ago? Is this like the dream you had when you were 18? I'm going to open up 900 channels and teach everybody all these and bring these fabulous people. No, you probably didn't know what you now know that you wanted to do with your time, or something tripped it over. The same thing with doing things that are not good or not in the best interest. There are arborists. There are tree people that their whole job is to do something like trees. What I caution you to do is, even when I hire a plumber, first of all, they're expensive and I got to have it fixed. If something plumbing is going wrong, somebody's not getting a shower to do dishes or something terrible, I always get 3, the number 3, because it's an odd number. One person and another person could agree. The third person might not, but at least I have a ratio. So if I'm able, and 99% of the time I'm able to get 3 estimates, 3 roofs, 3 plumbers, 3 electricians, whatever. It's going to take you time, obviously. If you have an emergency, that'll be different. But guess what? Once you find that great electrician or carpenter or construction person, I know when I was managing rentals that weren't owned by me, they hired me to do this, and I was on the board. So once I found those people that did the work and did a great job and didn't stab me in the back with a bill that was astronomical, I hired them over and over and over. What you have to do is get to that place, and that's the process. And get referrals from friends. You're not going to always get along with everybody your friends get along with, and that's not a problem, because if you cannot communicate and you understand each other, you're never going to work well together. And you'll know this when you finally meet somebody that you go, what am I speaking Russian, German, French, something else? Because every time I explain blah, 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 they don't get it. That's probably not a good working relationship, because somehow you're coming at the information with a different view or expectation or whatever. So find somebody. That's what the internet's for. You can find people with great references. You can find people that are brand new. I also go to my next door neighbor if I'm close to them, which I happen to be. I will go to somebody at church. I will go to somebody that I work with. If Dr. Jacalyn and I lived anywhere near in the same state, I would say, hey, have you heard of anybody, blah, blah, blah. But guess what I would ask Dr. Jacalyn? Have you heard of a good speaker that can talk on this? Have you heard of, do you have a resource for this? I can't tell you how many times that I know she's referred me. Hey, you have a question about animals? This is the person for it. And she has other resources. So this is why you network. This is why you keep people in your life that not only you can help, but you might need to know something they know. Ask people you trust. Start there. Again, it's not 100% ever. Nothing is. But it's a great way to not have to do it. But the internet's fabulous. And people are wonderful most of the time about putting any kind of comment. Now you get one bad one, looks really bad, and you get 9 good ones, or vice versa. Always think about, wait a minute, does this sound valid or not? Sadly, people leave bad comments. Sadly, we don't fit with everybody. But that doesn't mean that they're necessarily a bad person. Do your homework. Network. Figure out where you're going to get resources. And then you go to the internet. It's a wonderful resource.
You know, I think what you're sharing today is so important, and I want to take a little bit of a detour. Sure. And I'd love to have you think about, you've shared it here before, but think about when you first announced to the world that you were a pet psychic. And there are people out there today who are realizing they have these skills and talents. And I'm just wondering, what would you say to them if they're interested in going forward with these talents that they have, and maybe what they could potentially face from sharing with the
public,
world?
from the public. I mean, now, just like there were a couple of people, I don't have a lot of them, but they were like, you're going to do what? And I said, I'm going to do a live cast. And they're like talk to people like out loud. I mean, it's one thing to do private clients, but you're going to go national. And I said, yeah, I can help more people. And they're like, okay, good luck with that. And
you actually have gone global, by the way. You've gone far more.
Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely jumped from there, because what's the good part about a pandemic is we learned we can still connect digitally on a organic. The only thing missing is the hug and less germs to share back and forth. Best thing for a pandemic. But we didn't know that when we were going to go through all of this. And I look at all those, I'm a cup half full. So yes, I see all that. So when I decided that I didn't want to take all the years of working in a wildlife sanctuary, all my college education in animal sciences, all my childhood of working with wildlife. And I was very, very fortunate to have all these wonderful experiences throughout my entire life. So I wanted to say, I've been given so much. I love animals and nature so much, just beyond my own care for my own life, if you want to put it in those stronger terms. What can I do for the animals? I can step out and say, I know how to talk to them. Let me share it with you. Was it terrifying, scary? Yeah. But as I gained clients, I was getting ready for your show. I was getting ready for the other interviews I can do on my own and the things I put on my website. I did a talk 2 or 3 weeks ago at a church, and they knew me. We were friends, so they brought in a lot of specialists. And I last night did a reading for one of the ladies who met me on that. And so I am continuing to give out where I can, so that I can spread the word. But it was terrifying in the beginning. I know what I know, but I couldn't say, oh, I read it in this book, or I studied at Stanford, or yes, I had a degree in animal science. That's very general. And I worked in a vet clinic. Yes. And I did all of this stuff. Yes, because I wanted on the ground, boots on the ground. Is that the same? Boots on the ground experience to go with the book learning. The books can tell you so much, and it's really important to have those acronyms after your name because it gives you credibility. That's what I needed. I couldn't just say pet psychic. Now that's all you ever hear. Because, if you go with somebody like Dr. JACALYN, who absolutely has loved the title, and I was like, this is really fun. Somebody who actually loves my title. Then all of that is just support that I have that background. So if you're going into any kind of field that, as we say, is a woo-woo field, or is looked at like, well, that's not really work, don't feel like you have to prove anything, but also be prepared to prove something and have the education that the secular world, because I think it's important to be able to talk to the people who believe in your spiritual and or energetic or God-given gift. Like, let's say you're 6'10" and you get everything off of the very, very top shelf for everybody. Well, that's because you're born that way. But I bet if you had, I don't know, a loaf of bread as opposed to a brick of flour, a whole bag of flour that's like 20 pounds, getting it off the shelf, literally and figuratively, is a different mode of planning, heaviness. How am I going to grasp it? These are the things you need to learn. And this is the things I learned. I need to know how an animal thinks, how an animal works. If I can hear that your animal says, I'm injured, but I don't know anything about the dog or cat or whatever's anatomy, and I'm going, okay, where do I see pain? Here. And so I'm thinking, well, that's a lot of space. Is it your ribs? Is it your side? Is it your hand? But if I hadn't taken and received that documentation and the degree in veterinarian medicine as an assistant, and then worked in the clinics, don't you think my education would be limited in just saying, he said he hurts. He has an owie on his left toe. Do you think anybody's going to pay for your time if that's what you leave them with? No, I want to finish the story about it. You know what? This is an emergency. You need to get to a vet. I'm the first one who's going to tell you that. No, I'm telling you, this is a big deal. You need to get to a vet now. And getting other people involved that can do those x-rays and those exams and draw blood, because I no longer do any of that. I'm not in a clinic licensed to do that, so wouldn't. But do you see how broadening it would be like Dr. JACALYN, if you were coaching somebody, but you had no idea, and they were going to go on camera and they were going to go on video and they were going to make this great life of, videos and blah, 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 but you knew nothing about cameras, videos, or sound.
Yeah.
Which you do,
Yeah.
right? Could you help them truly? Would you be the right coach?
No,
No.
no,
Yeah.
absolutely not. I couldn't help someone unless I've walked the walk myself.
Well, and you know what? We're better off because we fell down a few times. And
Mhm.
everybody's like, "Oh, that's terrible. This happened, or you lost that client, or you did, or whatever. A camera died, or as we both have had, wardrobe malfunctions, or whatever." You're like, you watch yourself later on camera, and you go, "I swear I combed my hair. I swear there was a comb involved." But what is that? We're our worst critic. But
Yes.
I want everybody to laugh through it because sometimes it's just you want to just cry and you go, okay, cry. That's okay. Get that energy out and then go, okay, that's out there for the whole world to see like forever because the internet, I understand, lasts like forever. So take that lesson and laugh about it and say, okay, I can do better. I've learned. Boy, skin in my knee, that really sucks. I don't know about you. When I was a kid, I was stubbing my toe all the time. And I got to the point where I was literally ripping the top of my toe off, and the healing takes forever. So it's like, yeah, I got to learn to walk better. I got to learn to wear tennis shoes more often. And just when you think that you're at your lowest and you're struggling with your God-given gifts and or your dream job, is it always the job you should take? Well, maybe not. But should you give it a try? I'm all for that. Give it a try. Get involved. Come to things like this. Dr. Jacalyn, you didn't just say, oh, well, I got to hire this guy, this guy, this. I got to have $20,000 just for the first 6 months to get off. I will bet, because I know our platform, my time with you is so beautiful. We didn't have these fancy graphics. We had graphics. We had backgrounds. We had all that when you and I started. But look at how much absolutely beautiful all your logos and everything are. You don't start there. And if you do, most people go bankrupt, I would think, because they've socked every dime into making everything perfect, but they didn't get the clients to sustain it. So I started the same way. I started out with family and friends and just helped them and said, hey, I'd love it if you paid me. And I moved to payment. I did it free in the beginning. I tried it out, saw if I wanted to do it. And you can't possibly have just jumped into this, right?
No, it's an evolution. It really is. And you don't always necessarily know what to do when, but as you continue to grow and do your research, then things evolve. And when I look back to 2 years ago, rapping with Dr. Jacalyn and the intro and the outro, I mean, it's all good. There's nothing
Yes.
wrong with it.
Yes.
It's just an evolution. And I think that's what you're sharing
Yeah.
about whatever field someone's in, there's an evolution, but you have to take those first steps.
Right.
You acknowledge that you have a
Right.
passion for something.
Well, and that's why I'm saying, don't be afraid to bandage your pet's toe. Just realize they're going to eat the bandage. So if they can reach the toe or the tail or the side of the animals don't do bandages, but you're going to learn how to bandage or how do you stop the bleeding or where it is, because I'm hoping that, like showing Dr. Jacalyn and I's trajectory of our passion and where it's gotten to us today, we didn't start here. We started at, oh, this is a Band-Aid. And it's really interesting because we call it a Band-Aid. That's a brand. I mean, how well are they doing that everybody calls a sticky thing that stops bleeding or covers a sore as a Band-Aid? That's best marketing ever. So I'm not saying we can all do that, but we can all say something that people remember and touches their heart, their head, or something. But give yourself a chance. If you want to learn about how to train your dog, yes, you can read a book. I'd suggest you join a training group, and there's lots of that on Meetup or any other place. Go out with your friends, because the first time your dog bites somebody, it could cost them their life.
Yeah.
And you don't
So
want
true.
that.
So true. I love what you're sharing here. I think education is key. Get the education and then put it into action. Take action. That's where people seem to miss the boat on a lot of things. Some people just, they continuously research and research, and believe me, I'm all about researching too. But they use the research as a reason not to move forward.
Right.
I'm still looking into it. I'm still comparing. No, just make a decision. You own it and follow through. And then if it's not the right one, another great key learning opportunity.
Well, and look at what you and I did. I mean, I'm assuming on your side, so please correct me. But I did all the schooling because I was going to be I was an animal crazy person from birth. So I did all that. My mom put me in a lot of situations. So that just happened organically. What was I going to do with my life? Okay, I'll be a vet assistant because I didn't want to be a vet. I wanted more leeway to be doing everything, but I wanted to know hands-on above basic 101 on caring for my own pets, if not other people's pets. So it's personal too. And then as I evolved as a human being, my children grew up and didn't need me anymore, and I could do more things on my own. And these things changed, and I moved different locations of the state I live in. I became the person that said, now is the time. But everything I did built me up to this moment. Everything I have, I can use and gather and use for this moment because I stayed within one field and my passion was animals. Is that broad? Sure. But I made sure I covered their physiology, their medical needs, their training needs, and I had them all in my own pets. I've talked about Jake, our shepherd that we was abandoned in a backyard. No plan was to have 2 babies who are 18 months apart and a German shepherd who didn't ever walk on a leash. I don't think you can plan that. But guess what I learned? I learned that I'm still a great multitasker. I learned that I could take 2 human babies and a very, very young dog, and we could all learn together to coexist and be happy. If I had failed at that, what would I have learned? I don't know. I didn't fail, but I think I would have picked myself up and said, I can do better. Let's try again. Or maybe dogs aren't my thing, or I ended up being allergic. You can switch. So I'm telling everybody who's listening is try it. Fall down, because guess what? You'll either bandage your knee and get up and try again and change the reason you fell, move the rock out of the way, get off the gravel off the ground, or you'll change directions completely. There's nothing wrong with that. Education moves you forward. Any kind of education. Sadly, even the bad stuff. You never forget the bad stuff. But you can heal from it, and you can use it to your advantage. Was I heartbroken when our shepherd died? Absolutely. Absolutely. And he had a horrible disease, and it rotted his body. But I was there every moment, and the girls were there every moment to make his life better than being dumped in a backyard, better than being sent to a shelter, and who knew what was going to happen then, because we loved him. He got lots of hugs. So that's what all you do. Be on purpose every day. Do the best you can.
I love that. Be on purpose, be purposeful, have a mission, lead with kindness. What a great way to close.
And realize roads have V's. They're not A to B. Because if you're doing that, I don't know, that's a little boring. As long as I don't break anything, body parts, I'm okay there.
Yeah, right. Just be open for those turnoffs, those opportunities that take this.
Exactly. And I'll use a perfect example of I broke 4, I forgot, a couple on each side when I was in middle school. And I don't think I've ever told you this, but can you imagine trying to sing professionally and have 5 broken ribs? You need those for the breathing in and out of. I couldn't do it. And I learned so much. And when I was kicked, it was a silly kid's accident, wrestling with somebody, and he kicked me, didn't even notice. till about an hour or so later, like, I don't feel so good. I don't really feel like I can breathe because I used to sing. And so I was like, I can't breathe. But I learned a lot about me and what I could do. That was one of my first big injuries before all the surgery I had. So it was like, wow, because you had to walk slower, you had to breathe slower, and I had to stop playing sports for at least 10 weeks while my ribs healed. I cracked 3 of them. And I never even knew it until about an hour later. And I thought, I don't feel good.
Something's wrong.
Yeah, don't hug me. And somebody hugged me, and that kind of pushed it over the edge. And I went, oh God, that was bad.
I've heard that from people before, that they broke ribs and they didn't even know. So I'm glad that you're healed. And
well, and it wasn't a bear hug. It was just, hi. Somebody come up, like my girlfriend came up and said, oh, hi, wasn't that a fun event? And she hugged me, and I went, oh God, no, let go.
Yeah, and you realize there's something wrong. Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, that should not have hurt.
But I think also the good news is that we heal, we mend, we really do. So, and that's what we're sharing, is how to look at what we're doing,
right?
Take responsibility for it, be accountable, and then we can do better. And that's what you're saying all the time. We can do better. And so thank you for the information that you lovingly share each and every week, and for all the insights that you give. And again, if you didn't see the interview from Tuesday on the Mallorca Connection, just go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV and Radio. Look for the Mallorca. People are always like, how do you spell Mallorca? Mallorca. It's not written the way that it sounds, but please go over there. And Pet Psychic Aminah was on just this week. So,
well, and honestly, for you, I don't know if you've tried this. I've Googled your name if I have the date. I Google my name if I only know I was on the show and I can't spell anybody else's name or the date. And then Mallorca, I Googled it. And so I encourage everybody, there's a way. Just like I was just telling you about everything else. Don't think there's only one path to getting anything. YouTube is a plethora of wonderful things. Once you get to the channel, USA Global, Global, thank you for the correction, is now don't do what I do and just get lost in, I want to watch that one and that one and that. And then my whole desktop is just saved with movies. And it's wonderful because I play them when I cook. I play them when I'm resting, when I'm just hanging out I have a rocking chair. So, you guys, some of you know I have a bad back. So I'm soaking my back or taking my hands a break. I've got my cue.
Yeah. That's nice. Rocking to USA Global TV and Radio. I love it. I love it. It's fabulous. Well, thank you again. We are signing off for this week, and we will be back next week on Tuesday. In the interim, I will be traveling south here in the United States for a 2-day drive. I'm looking forward to it, and be at a new location next week. And I'm going to look forward to seeing you on Friday next week.
Absolutely. With bells on. Thank you. Thank you. Be good out there, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thank you for being here with us. And again, tell your friends, let people know that we're here. We're giving all kinds of great information. We'll see you again next week. Bye.
Absolutely. Bye.